You know, every growing business eventually hits a wall. And I'm not talking about a sales wall, but an administrative one. So today, we're going to dive into how outsourcing just two key functions, we're talking tax prep and accounts payable, can literally transform that wall into a launchpad for scaling faster and smarter.
So let me ask you this. Is your own success starting to overwhelm your team? I mean, your business is growing. More clients, more revenue. It's exactly what you've been working for, right? But what if that very success is secretly creating the biggest bottleneck in your company?
It's this weird paradox of scaling, isn't it? Growth feels amazing, but it brings this shadow challenge with it. I'm talking about a tidal wave of financial admin work that can totally swamp your team and just slam the brakes on the momentum you've worked so hard to build.
All right, so let's really unpack this challenge. Look, it's what they call a good problem to have, for sure. But hey, it's still a problem. So let's take a closer look at what exactly happens when that financial workload starts to outrun your team's capacity. So what does that pressure look like in the real world? Well, it's this pile-up effect. All of a sudden, tax returns are stacking up. Invoices are pouring in, demanding to be processed. Vendor payments need to be scheduled. And on top of all that, compliance rules are getting more and more complex. It's basically the perfect storm for burnout and, you guessed it, some really costly errors.
Okay, so how do you solve this? And I mean, solve it without just throwing more bodies at the problem by hiring a ton of new people. Well, it requires a real strategic shift. We're talking about rethinking your entire financial operation from the ground up, building it to support scale, not just survive it.
And look, the goal here isn't just some quick fix. It's about building a truly balanced, resilient financial workflow. A system that doesn't just, survive growth, but actually fuels it for the long haul. And that, right there, is where outsourcing comes in. Think of it as a key piece of the architecture for that new system.
All right, so let's get specific. What do we actually mean when we say financial outsourcing in this context? Let's decode the two core services that can be a complete game changer for your business's ability to scale.
So you've got two core services here. On one side, you have tax preparation. This is all about partnering with the pros, the specialists who live and breathe the complex, high-stakes world of tax returns and compliance. Then, on the other side, you have accounts payable, or AP outsourcing. This is where you delegate all that daily, high-volume work, managing invoices and paying vendors. Two totally different functions, but both are absolutely critical.
So let's dive a little deeper into tax outsourcing. What you're doing is handing off these really specific high-stakes tasks. We're talking about experts preparing your individual and corporate returns, reviewing financial statements, organizing all the documentation, and just making sure you're compliant with all those U.S. tax regulations that seem to change every 5 minutes. Honestly, just think of it as a massive stress relief valve, especially when tax season rolls around.
Okay, now let's flip the coin and look at accounts payable. This is the daily financial engine that keeps your business running. When you outsource AP, it means you have a dedicated team processing vendor invoices, verifying every single billing detail, keeping all your vendor records pristine, and making sure those payments go out on time every single time. It's all about bringing that pro-level efficiency to your everyday cash flow.
Okay, so we get what these services do, but why should you care, right? What are the actual tangible benefits for your business? This, my friends, is where it gets really, really powerful. First up, and this is a big one, especially with tax outsourcing, you drastically reduce the risk of errors. See, professional providers have these structured, multi-level review processes. It's not just one person glancing at the numbers. It's an entire system designed for accuracy. And that simple fact can save you from some seriously costly penalties down the road.
But it doesn't stop there. The benefits have this awesome ripple effect. You're not just reducing errors, you're making tax season way more efficient, and you get access to people who are total experts in this stuff. But here's the best part. You free up your own internal team. They can finally stop being data entry clerks and start being the strategic financial advisors your business actually needs.
All right, let's switch gears over to accounts payable. One of the absolute biggest wins here is cutting your operational costs. And just think about it for a second. You're reducing the need for more internal staff, all the training that goes with them, and the tech infrastructure you'd need to manage a flood of invoices. That's a direct, immediate hit of positivity to your bottom line.
And again, the wins keep coming. Invoices get processed way faster, which gives you a much clearer, real-time picture of your cash flow. Plus, when you're always paying your vendors on time, you build trust. You strengthen those vital relationships, and that can lead to better payment terms and a supply chain you can actually count on.
Okay, so we've looked at these two services on their own. Tax prep over here, AP over there. But the real magic happens when you bring them together. This is where you really start to see the power of synergy.
Because when you combine them, you're not just plugging two different holes in the boat. You're actually building a brand new, single, scalable financial infrastructure. Think about it. You streamline the huge annual headache of taxes while you automate the daily grind of payments. All that financial data gets integrated, giving you this crystal clear visibility you need to make smart, strategic growth decisions.
And this is maybe the most crucial point of all. This is not about replacing your people. It's about empowering them. Outsourcing is a support system. It takes care of all the routine, high-volume stuff. And that liberates your talented internal team to finally focus on what really moves the needle: financial planning, analysis, and forward-thinking strategy.
And that really brings us to the final takeaway here. When you create this kind of efficient financial engine, you're not just buying a service. You are buying back your team's most valuable, most precious, non-renewable resource, their time. So the real question isn't, can we afford to outsource? The real question is, what incredible things could our business build if our best people were finally free to focus on the future?